Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on a beautiful 1911 from Sig. Yes, I know many of you do not think of Sig when it comes to 1911s, but they've been making them for quite some time. This particular version is the Nightmare edition of their full-size 1911s. It is a very beautiful gun, and I'm really excited to shoot it. After all, you guys know I kind of cut my teeth in the firearms world on Colt 1911. So the 1911 will always have a special place in my heart. But before we talk about the things that I like and don't like about this particular pistol and get it to the range, I want to thank all the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is my local friend and subscriber who owns this gun, who lent it to the channel, Ken. Ken, thank you so much for lending this amazing gun. I really do appreciate it. I want to thank all of my Patreons, as always, because through their monthly donation and support, I'm able to buy equipment to keep all this content coming. And as always, the person that provides all of the ammunition for these range reports, thus making them financially feasible, is my friend Mark from Brownworks. For those of you that always watch my channel, you guys know I talk about Brownworks in every range report. After all, he is my sponsor. And I have to tell you, this one's going to be a little bit special because I always roll in pictures of Mark's fine work. But today, I have some on the table. Ken purchased some 1911 grips from Brownworks and installed them on his Nightmare 1911. So take a look at those. That is an awesome set of grips. You can also see that this gun does have a bobtail or a rounded backstrap. Mark even took the time to custom make those and custom fit those. Finished them great. I love that grain of the wood. I love the fact that it kind of looks like it's burnt in there. It kind of looks like electricity. That is a really cool look. And so to actually have a set of grips that is owned by one of my local subscribers here to the channel to get to look at those is great. I own a bunch of Brownworks grips myself, and I'm so glad that the people that follow my channel have took my advice, went and checked out Mark over at Brownworks and bought a set of grips. And I can tell you, Ken is really happy with these. He took off the original Sig grips, put these on, and loved it. He said his customer service over there was fantastic. Mark is a great communicator and custom made these grips, asked all the questions that he needed to make sure that these things fit awesome. The other thing too that Mark offers over there is laser engraving of magazines such as P-mags and AK-47 mags, but he also offers 1911 magazine engraving. So yeah, here is a Texas Gun Vault logoed 1911 magazine. So you can put any type of logo or engraving you want, but who knows, maybe you want to put the logo of your favorite YouTube channel on your 1911 magazine to complete your gun. And yes, that is an awesome combination. So I am asking you, please go over there, check out Brownworks. I'm going to put a link in the description and as a pinned comment. Go over there and see what he has to offer. If you don't see what you're looking for, make sure to email Mark and tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so what is this particular pistol? This is the Sig 1911 Nightmare Edition, full-sized and 45 with a 5-inch barrel. Yeah, it is a really interesting gun. As I said, most people don't think about Sig when it comes to 1911s, and I was actually a little bit apprehensive about reviewing this gun because in the past I've had issues with other versions of the Nightmare editions of pistols just because I found their checkering to be a little bit aggressive. I once shot a Sig P938, which is a little tiny 9mm, and I did not like that at all. But I think this being a full-size gun, I'm not going to have any issues with it. I do like the styling of it though, with that little two-tone look. So we have some silver accents or stainless accents when it comes to the controls. I think that is extremely attractive. So this is supposed to be a performance package and an aesthetic package upgrade to their standard 1911s. So let's go ahead and talk about the things that I like and don't like about this gun. First and foremost, it's a Sig. Sig makes fantastic firearms. While I have not liked every gun I've ever shot from Sig, I cannot deny that every gun that I've ever shot was quality. So I know they're going to put that same quality and design into building a 1911. I also really like the fact that this gun has mid-length controls. I've never really seen that on a 1911 before. You have your standard controls, which some people think are too small, but then you have the extended ones that many people think are too large. I've never really seen them this length before. They're just a little bit larger, both the slide release and the safety, than your standard controls. And I like that because I think it helps you actuate those a little bit easier, but they're not so big that they're intrusive. I don't think you'd have any problems finding a holster for it. I think that this is a really good design, and I've never seen that on any other 1911. I like that a lot. The last thing I really like about this gun is that it's kind of a modernization of an obsolete model. Now I know every time I use the word obsolete, the people that love that particular gun come out of the woodwork and go, "You're an idiot, it's not obsolete." Well, this gun is over 100 years old and was designed for the US cavalry, people that were riding horses to shoot one-handed. Yes, it is still a fantastic pistol. It has stood the test of time, but so many firearms have come after it. And so from that perspective, it has been replaced. It is obsolete. But obsolescence doesn't mean irrelevant. And so when Sig takes a gun that is that old, a design that is over 100 years old, and tries to modernize it, give us something that is a rethinking of that, adding features that are relevant to us today in the 21st century, I think is great. So the philosophy of this gun is something that is very attractive to me. Now let's talk about a couple of things about this gun that I don't like. And the first one is going to be something that maybe many of you really like, and that is going to be the bobtail in the back. Yeah, so as you can see, the main spring housing here is rounded. So it's not like a traditional 1911 frame. Now many companies offer this, and the whole idea of this rounded bobtail in the back is to make the gun more comfortable. I think this is very reminiscent of the debate on Smith & Wesson revolvers when it comes to square butt or round butt revolvers. I know many people like the modern round butt revolvers because they're just more comfortable. They fit their hands better. I personally find that the square butt ones are more comfortable in my hand, and I feel like I control the gun a lot better. Same thing goes for 1911s. Having that little bit of extra material down here, rubbing it in my hand, I just feel like I have a better grip and control of the firearm. So while I think this is aesthetically very nice, it's not as comfortable for me to shoot. But that's just a kind of a personal preference. As I said, this might be something that you love, and that is perfectly fine. But for me, it's something about this gun that I don't like. Another thing about this gun that I'm not a big fan of is the external extractor. And then you have that right there on the side of the slide. I personally think that when John Browning designed this gun, he got it right the first time when it came to the extractor. The few 1911s that I have shot with external extractors, most of them have been Smith & Wessons, and I've always had erratic or problems with the ejection. It just doesn't always seem to be tuned very well. So I'm hoping I'm not going to have any issues with this. Now, in general, external extractors aren't really a problem on 1911s. I just feel like it's a departure from John Browning's original design that doesn't have to be modernized. It was just correct from the beginning. Maybe this is a little bit easier to manufacture. I don't know. I just prefer the internal extractors. Another thing about this particular gun that I don't like is the fact that they come with an extended magazine. And that's not the problem. Not the extended magazine, but it's the magazine design. Now, when the 1911 came out, most of the magazines held 7 rounds. Many of the modern ones hold 8 rounds. So when you have, for example, this is a Colt 1911 magazine right here. This holds 8 rounds, and it will fit flush in the frame. So I like that a lot. But the ones that they provide here are also 8 rounders, but they extend out past the frame, not just because it has this little base plate here, but the magazine body itself actually extends past the frame of the gun. Well, if you're going to have one that is going to extend past the frame of the gun, give me that extra round. Make this a 9-round magazine. And I kind of feel like that base plate is kind of weird. As you can see the side of the magazine. I just prefer guns and magazines that made up where you don't have that. I feel like that is just a more attractive look. Anytime you have anything extended beyond that receiver or that frame, I want extra rounds. All right, so those are the things that generally, just looking at it here on the table, that I like and don't like. Let's get this thing to the range. Let's see how it shoots. I'm very anxious. As I said, I have shot many Colt 1911s, and that's just kind of what I cut my teeth on when it came to my personal firearm collecting addiction. So I'm really excited to shoot a Sig 1911 for the first time. So I'm going to load up 2 magazines, because after all, they only hold 8 rounds. Put the target at 7 yards, and just see how it shoots. And this gun shoots great. It is very accurate. Yes, I did have one flyer there. It was totally my fault. It is not the gun at all. This gun feels really good, with the exception of this bobtail, and I was expecting that, okay? Now, I could totally live with this. It just feels a little bit weird in my hand, and I feel because of this, I get a little bit more flip, but that's very qualitative. I can't actually show you scientifically. It just doesn't feel right in my hands. Maybe I'm just so used to a traditional 1911, but the gun seems to be fantastic. Well, I'm gonna do what I call the accuracy portion. Now, no, I'm not gonna bench rest it. Everyone always gets me on that. I just wanna see how well I shoot this gun at a further distance. How good are the sights gonna be? Especially when it comes to the size of this group. I know how I shoot it at about 7 yards. Well, I'm gonna put the target out to about 15 and see what happens to my group and how accurate I can be with it. And I think my grouping there was even better than when the target was at a shorter distance. I have to say, I really like Sig stock sights. They're really nice. Most of them are the Sig night sights, so they already have the tritium. They're always made of metal, unlike other guns like Glock. I've always felt that they are just fantastic sights right out of the box, and very rarely do I ever feel the need to upgrade them. And these sights, which are Novak style, as you can see here in the rear, you have the tritium in the front. These sights just work great, and I think that's why I'm shooting this gun so well. The recoil is also very low for a 1911, and this aggressive checkering on the front and the back strap don't bother me at all, like I was talking about, like when it came to other guns like the Sig P938. Well, I want to give my wife Becky a shot at this now. She's actually a little bit apprehensive in shooting it because the more guns she shot, the less she likes 45 ACP. She's slightly recoil sensitive, and lately the 45 ACP guns that we've been shooting have been a little bit recoil heavy. So when I said, hey, we're shooting a 1911 and 45, she was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, come on, it's a 1911, you're gonna love it. So I'm really excited to see if maybe this gun is gonna change her mind on 45 and what she thinks about it. After all, she does like other 1911s, especially those chambered in 9mm. But let's see what she thinks. So I thought she shot it pretty well, and she liked it more than what she thought she would. But she still does not like this aggressive checkering in the front. So one of the reasons I always have her shoot these guns that come through the Texas Gun Vault is because she's a very different shooter than I am. And so the things that she likes and don't like is very different. And I think that's very important to get that data point, because sometimes people accuse me of saying, well, you just don't like that aspect of the gun, so you give it a low rating or a high rating if I like it, and maybe other people don't. But I always want to give other people's perspective, and she is such a different shooter than I am that I think it's important that I talk about this. So this aggressive texturing she doesn't like. So she's a little bit recoil sensitive and a little bit texture sensitive, but she said she could get used to it. She actually felt that the grip of this was fantastic, which honestly I think is one of the huge selling points to the 1911. As I said, the 1911 was originally designed for cavalry use, to be shot with one hand, and I think John Browning, designing this gun with that in mind, designed what I think is one of the best grips of any pistol ever. The angle of the grip, the width of the grip, it is just so ergonomic. And whether it's my larger hands or her smaller hands, it just fits so well. And she definitely mentioned that. She likes 1911 grips. So I know that's probably a huge selling point to a lot of people. In fact, I know that a lot of people don't like grips on Glocks because of their angle. They say they're not natural, but John Browning got that right. All right, so now I want to move on to the next part of the test, which I call the defensive use, or the quick magazine change use, or maybe the competition use. After all, if you're carrying a 1911, compared to other guns, you do have some limited capacity, only 7 or 8 rounds. So most likely, if you're going to carry a gun like this, you're going to carry an extra magazine. If you're a competition shooter, you're going to need to do some quick magazine change. Now, this particular model does not have a very big flare when it comes to the mag well. In fact, it's almost not there. There's no jet funnel on this at all. I know some of the 2011 pistols I've been shooting have amazing mag wells or jet funnels to facilitate quick magazine changes, but this gun doesn't have it. So I'm just curious if an average gun guy like myself would ever need to use this in one of those situations. Well, could I do it effectively? Could I do it efficiently? How quick can I shoot this gun, drop the magazine, get a new one in there, and get the gun back in action? So let's see how I do. And like many 1911s, this gun has a finely tuned trigger that can be shot really fast. I felt like my magazine change on that was a little bit slower. It took me a second to kind of find that mag well, but I did it pretty efficiently. I did notice though, when I was trying to get the gun back on target, I was also a little bit slower. This gun was just a little bit more flippy, not because it's a 1911 or it's in 45. I still think this rounded bobtail back here just doesn't fit in my hand very well, and I have to constantly adjust for it. So I was a little bit slow reacquiring the target, but otherwise it was just fine, just like a standard 1911. So you don't really get any upgrades with a mag well in that capacity, but it works just fine. I also want to mention that the next portion of my range report, I always try to use hollow points. Well, I've actually been using hollow points this entire range trip, so I know I don't have to do that particular test. So this gun shoots hollow points just fine. The last portion of this range report I want to do is shoot this like John Browning intended, one-handed. Now normally I don't shoot guns this way. As you guys know, the modern pistol technique uses 2 hands, but that's what John Browning intended this gun for. You're riding a horse, you're in the cavalry, can you shoot it well with one hand? Well, I just have to pay homage to this gun's history. So let me shoot it one-handed. And that is what I think is the key to this gun's success. Its natural ergonomics. It was designed for the cavalry, to be shot with one hand. And so when you use a second hand to shoot it, it's even better. But this gun shoots really well one-handed. And if you ever go back and look at old photos or videos of U.S. Army training from World War I or World War II, you see them shooting it one-handed. And so while I've never been trained or took any classes on that particular shooting technique, I think it's kind of important if you ever shoot a 1911 to shoot it that way, because that's what the designer's intentions were, and that's what the technique on this pistol was for such a long time. So while I wouldn't recommend doing that all the time, it's just kind of a cool throwback to getting closer to this pistol and its original philosophy of use. So what are my final thoughts on this beautiful 1911 from Sig with these awesome Brownworks grips? Well, I'm really impressed. Normally, I will say something cliche like, it's either a Colt or it's a copy. And maybe in my heart, that's truly the way that I feel about 1911s. But if I don't care about brand names, I would have to say out of all of the other manufacturers of standard 1911s, not the 2011s, the high-end Gucci guns, but just kind of a standard 1911, this one has impressed me the most. I've shot Colts, I've shot 1911s. This is my first Sig. And I have to say, I think Sig really does a fantastic job on this. So if you don't care about brand names and want a quality 1911, this is the one that has impressed me the most. I didn't have any problems with the extraction, so I don't think this external extractor is going to give me any issues or give you any issues. The sights that come out of the box on this are fantastic. The trigger is really nice. I think you get a lot of upgrades. If you like this bobtail, you're going to love this gun. If you don't, maybe you want to go with a different model, but that would only be a slight cosmetic change. So I know Sig offers other guns that don't have this, so you can look at that. But overall, this gun really impressed me. I like the aesthetics. I like the two-tone look. I like the checkering. You get a lot of options, and it shoots really well for me. It's a very accurate gun that's very ergonomic. So on my star system, how would I rate the Nightmare 1911 from Sig Sauer? Well, on this one, I'm only going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. Still a very high review. There's just a few things about it that, for me, I just don't like. That bobtail is, for me, the biggest detraction. If that was just a straight frame on the back, I think this thing would be 4.5 stars out of 5. But it did exceed my expectations. I knew it was going to shoot well, but it is probably my favorite non-Colt 1911 that I've ever shot. So 4 out of 5 stars, quality gun, it's attractive, it shoots well, just a great package. I think Sig does a great job on this. And maybe if it had an accessory rail, it would get 4.5 stars, because I know when you're rethinking an old design, you got to think about those modern accessories. Maybe even the ability to put on a red dot so they could mill out that slide. So you can't put a light or a laser, you can't put a red dot on it. I know in kind of our modern technique and modern philosophy, people are really going to want that. So that's another reason why this only gets 4 out of 5 stars, just because of the accessory interface that doesn't exist. So there you go. So what do you guys think? Do you own a Sig Sauer 1911? What do you think as compared to other brands? Are you impressed with them as much as I am? So this has been a great time with this awesome firearm. So thank you, Ken, for lending it to the channel. And thank you, Mark, for making such an awesome set of grips for Ken. This looks fantastic on this gun. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.